Wait, how you doing? Good, good.
There's a nice photo of the plane.
I wanted you to have something for your wall.
Paper with this.
Oh, Mara. Yeah.
It's usually like two.
When you get that shirt? One of those online things. Hey, ordered this shirt for $5. I said, oh, this I'm gonna have some fun with.
Get one of where to work. They smash them all the time.
Oh, the guys in the transportation department enjoy it.
Oh, the public school system.
Yes,
Yes.
you know, walking into schools, yeah, they may not get. It's all good. All right.
I love it. I think it's great.
What we got here? 6:32. Not sure what's going on with Mary. You even sent a note saying, hey, make sure I'm on the agenda. For my Zoomers, we'll get started in just a second.
I'm gonna have to pray for you.
Here comes Miss Mary. We can get the party started. We can get the party started. Now Mary's here.
Yeah, it doesn't have to.
Give you a chance there, Mary, to get settled and we'll get started.
All right, well, Mary's getting settled. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. I think I know pretty much everybody in the room, so I don't need to introduce myself. Miss Becky, I've asked Becky to lead us in a prayer. As you entered tonight, you may have seen the memorial service for Rick Rash. I'm sure everybody's aware that Rick passed on May 5th after a long battle with brain cancer. And we all know how involved he was in Oldham County, lifelong Oldham Countyan and whatnot. And I'll tell you, an interesting story I tell folks is, Rick and I, 4 years ago, ran for the vice chair position. And I won the position. And you know what? Right after that, you know what we were out doing? Putting up campaign signs, put things aside. And he taught me more about Oldham County in the 10 years I've lived here than anyone. He could tell you just about every farm and everything else. So he was a great guy from that standpoint, and a good friend to a lot of the people in this room. So I've asked if we could lift him in prayer, and Kevin.
And just one other we should add tonight is the family of the trooper or the sheriff's deputy in Scott County that got killed yesterday.
Yeah, that's another tragic event. And of course, we continue to pray for Officer Wilp. So Becky, would you go ahead and lead us in prayer?
Father God, we do just praise you and thank you so much for all that you are, all that you do, Father. All that we have is from you. We do thank you for all of your blessings, for your grace and your mercy, your love. And Father, as we do think of so many blessings, we do think of those who have gone before us and paved the way for us. We would not be where we are today without the ones like Rick Rash, who worked so hard for so many years for us, since he was a kid, really. And so we appreciate him, and we thank you for blessing us with him through the years, and we will always miss him, Father. And we do pray for his family, and just pray for your love and your comfort for them, Father. And Father, we do continue to lift up Officer Wilt, and thank you for the healing that you have going on in his life. And we just ask for complete and total healing from you, Father, above and beyond what any doctors, any therapists can do, Father, that it will just be miraculous. Father, that his recovery and his rehab will be so smooth and so complete that he can get back to what you called him to do, Father. And Father, we do lift up the deputy in Scott County, Father, and we pray for his family, Father, for your comfort, for your provision, and your help for them. And we pray for your protection for all of our ones who serve us, Father, in uniform. We pray for the ones right here in Oldham County, and the Sheriff's Department, and LaGrange Police, and Oldham County Police, and the state troopers, and all the police in the smaller departments around the county, Father. Just pray for your protection, Lord, please. And Father, we do ask that you would just continue to be with us. We thank you for getting us through yet another election. And Father, we do not take your protection for granted. We know that we're able to have safe, protected elections because of you, because you are our protector, because you are our provider. So we thank you for another successful, safe, protected election, Father, that we don't have to worry that we're going to get shot when we go to the polls or whatever. So we thank you for that, Father. And we just pray ongoing that you would please continue to be with us. And we just thank you and praise you for that in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. All right, if you'll rise and we'll recite the pledge. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. First off, if we can get a motion to approve tonight's agenda. When we get to unfinished business, I will ask, I know we've got our state senator with us here once again. We've got our one of our magistrates. So at that time, if you guys have anything that you'd like to bring from the county or the state level, we'd love to hear from you at that point, so that we can get through our new business first.
I have two things to add.
And I do have those on there as well, Mary,
Do you have them?
on your
I'll
Memorial
put
Day
it under
project.
now, under other committees.
I had under your report if you want to do it then, either way.
Well, it's sort of important. I just wanted to make sure it was on
Yeah.
the agenda.
Yeah, just a report out for Memorial Day and Project Guild, so. Yeah, okay, with that. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Kevin Jeffries, second.
Go ahead.
I heard something. John? No, O'Neill. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Minutes from April, Jim sort of typed them up here, so hopefully you've had a chance to see those. I've had a chance to go through them. We had a couple of corrections before they got sent out, but I would accept a motion to approve the April minutes. The quiet group.
I'll make a motion to approve.
There you go. Deborah Graham, do we have a second?
A second.
Second by Mary. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the April minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, under the chair report. First off, the election results. We all know what happened in the election. I want to give you a little different view of the statistics here. And I will try as best I can. I'm going to put this over here. And I'll walk through, for those of you on Zoom, I'll kind of walk through this as well. So we all know that Daniel Cameron won the primary for governor. Overall, you see in that column, kind of pointed out here, he received 48%. Ryan finished second at 22%, Kelly at 17% on down the line. You notice here in Oldham County, Daniel won 66% of the vote. So he actually outperformed the state by 18%. Ryan actually underperformed to the rest of the state by 7%. Kelly underperformed by 6%. So you can see the numbers there. So Daniel did very, very well in Oldham County. And I paused there for a second because I think that's very important for us. Because we all know what happened 4 years ago with Matt Bevan. He vastly underperformed in this county, right? So I'm hoping that that's going to be a very positive sign that we can get everybody to unite around Daniel, in the fall election. He also has a secret weapon, of course, that helps Oldham County. We all know who that is, right? His wife, Mackenzie, being from this area and being a public school teacher from Oldham County, that doesn't hurt at all either. So I just found that interesting that he really did very, very well in this area. And I'll just kind of quickly, you can kind of, oops, I don't know why it's blinking out on me.
Hopefully you'll let him know that since he didn't attend many of our events here during the primary.
Well, and we're gonna see if we can't get a nice event here in the county. The back, there we go. Under the Secretary of State, you can see that Michael Adams actually underperformed slightly by 4%. Steve Nipper actually did a lot better. He did 8% better in this county. And then Alan, again, underperformed. He overall got 10 and in Oldham he got 5%. So kind of interesting there. And of course, Nipper or his campaign team did do a little campaigning, and we saw a few signs out there for Steve Nipper. You can see some of the other ones. Mark Metcalf did very well overall, sort of underperformed in Oldham County by 9. Andrew Cooper Ryder got about the same amount in Oldham, and OJ did actually very well. And I tell you, I hear a lot of people that saw him speak, whether it was in person or on KET, and they were very, very impressed, the people that I talked to. So I wasn't that surprised that he did well in Oldham County. Shell, he did better in Oldham County by 5, and Heath did a little bit worse by 5. And then Ball and Betty's down there, you can see that they were pretty much dead. So these were a couple of my notes here. Undecideds. So going into the election, we heard that there was upwards of 20% of the people that were, oh, my line just keeps blinking out on me. Up to 20% were undecided. So clearly the undecideds made up their mind and voted for Daniel Cameron. The Kraft poll numbers, they peaked at 24%. And the weekend before the election, they were coming down. They were heading south. And so a poll that came out the weekend before the election showed that she was at 18%, and she faded even lower than that. I just don't know where, she didn't have that strong base out there. Oldham County Republican turnout. We had 21% turnout versus 28% in the 2022 primary. And remember, last year, I mean, you couldn't go 10 feet without seeing a campaign sign, right? For jailer, sheriff, and all the various races that we had going on in the county. So, yes, were we down? Yes. Would we have liked to have seen some? No idea, guys, why it keeps doing that, but would we like to have seen better results? Absolutely. And then the last comment I had here was the Democrat turnout, 13%, which is actually higher. I thought it was going to be single digits. I didn't even know why people showed up, versus 19% in the 2022 primary. And everybody knew Bashir was going to win. The only other race they had out there was at the agriculture race. So, not too surprising. So I wouldn't read into this that, oh, hopefully that's a sign that they're going to be apathetic and not show up come November. Because we all know we got our work cut out for us, right? Yep.
Do you have the numbers for the last primary for governor race?
I did not put that on here, but I can certainly bring that to the
That
next
would be more.
next meeting. Absolutely.
What was the statewide vote? You say Oldham was 21. What was Oldham?
21.
Statewide?
And again, I didn't put that in my notes here.
It's about 10%, I think.
Well, that's what Adam.
19.4 for Republican and 12.2 for Democrat.
Overall for the state.
So we were statewide, so we were slightly ahead in both.
The other thing that we'll just have to deal with this here. I'm not standing here, so I don't know why it's blinking.
You got to rest these.
All right. The other thing I thought was interesting is, again, we can get these various statistics from the state. And when I looked at the May 2023 primary versus the May 2022 primary, this is the number of registered voters that we have currently as of now, right now, May. And you notice it says we're at 30,967, whereas May 2022, it was 31,909. I have not been reporting numbers that are showing us going south. So I've got to find out, why did we suddenly lose 1,000 voters? Because if I looked prior to that, we were up 700-800 voters. So something, I don't know if there was some kind of a big cleanup or what's going on. Same numbers on the Democrat side.
Is it possible that Adams is cleaning up the voter rolls?
Well, that's, we need to find that out. I haven't seen any communication that suggested that, yes, they did a big dump of dead voters or something like that. But they had a very specific, on the website, it says here was the May primary last year, here's the May primary this year, and these were the numbers. So again, for my Zoom folks, it shows that we're down 942 voters year over year. Registered voters, 821 on the Democrat side, 230 on the, just one of those days, right? We all just wait a second and come back. And then I just, these other numbers here were just kind of if you look at our 2023 percentage of total, so we are at 55% of the total registered voters to 33% for Democrats. And then other is at 6% and independent is at 5%. If you just look at us versus Democrats, I always say, all right, how do we line up against those two? The people that actually can show up for a primary, we're almost at 2-to-1, 63 to 37. So those numbers are still holding. So these are something I've got to dig a little bit more into to find out why this is showing that we went south. So stay tuned on that. Okay. But I just wanted to share that with you because I thought that was sort of interesting when I was looking over those numbers. My next comment is primary is over. We all know who our candidates are. The big thing is we support our GOP candidates. If you know, I know there's folks in here that we're supporting different candidates, you know, that's fine. But now we have to unite and get these folks elected or re-elected. Key thing that I make a comment to is, remember, do not put anything out there that says, hey, I'm voting for whatever candidate. Democrat, if there's an independent, whatever. Because if you show that you are supporting a candidate that is not a GOP candidate, the GOP rules state that you will be removed from your position and cannot reapply for 2 years. So I just want to be very cautious there. So if you say that you're not supporting a candidate, that's one thing. Just don't say that you're endorsing a different candidate. And remember, when we say that we take that seriously, we took a member of our district committee off last fall. For doing exactly that. They supported a Democrat judge executive candidate. So I just wanted to reinforce that. The reapportionment commission, last Tuesday, that's fine. We're casual.
So when you say position, what do you mean? You mean like precinct officer, or what if you're non-precinct officer, you just go Republican?
I can't do
Yeah,
anything there.
maybe it's something, but maybe that.
That was gonna say, but you can ask them not to come in meetings. Are you sure about that? Because if you don't have an official position, like precinct officer or something on the board, I don't think you can do that.
Well,
We-
a Democrat
Or you
can't,
can get sued.
a Democrat can't walk into this room and say, I want to come in here, or an
They
independent. No, it's a
cannot,
private
they cannot.
meeting.
This is a private group meeting.
So
We can determine and have a sergeant at arms could ask someone. So if someone that we knew was a diehard Democrat decided they want to come and find out what we're up to,
I think the
absolutely.
Democrat part, but you can, what you're saying is you can expel a registered Republican who's not an officer or just publicly stating they would choose to vote. Person. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Maybe we should find out for sure, because it feels like there would be some kind of a lawsuit there. I don't know.
It's, you can't file a lawsuit against a private group.
Violation if you just tell someone, you can't say what you want to say or do what you want to do. So
Well, the chair can try to control that. The chair can try to control
Not a
that.
Yeah,
question
it's a
mark.
point, yeah, it is, it's a point of risk.
Okay.
What is,
All right.
so what's the value of what you lost? If you're gonna sue somebody, you gotta sue them for something, right?
Well,
The value was you weren't invited to our private meeting.
being excluded, being.
All right.
As pretty like with prejudice, but if you say that there's not a question mark, JD, quote the rule in our bylaws.
There's JD, I'm gonna, guys, I'm still under chair announcement right now. If it came to that, I would make a decision and I would leave it up to the county if you backed up my decision.
I just think it would be good to find out. for sure.
Well, there is no specific in the RPK rule book, if you will. I think it would be a decision that the group would want to make. So, I'm sorry? No. No, the only bylaw that specifically says is if someone that's a officer is endorsing or publicly supporting a candidate, but you know, it gets into this gray area if you start talking about everybody else.
I have kind of a stupid question. What are Liberty Green constitutional reform and social work policies? What are
Those are all parties.
They're really-
You can register.
I think you have to have a percentage of that party on county to get on the ballot. So you might be a libertarian or you might be a Republican. So if you have a percentage of that party to register, they can get on the ballot as that party.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even on the voter registration card, it's got a spot for other, and then you can write in what party.
Before I saw that rule. I saw that rule.
And that's why back on the one area where I said 6% is registered as other, that's all they did. They checked the box that says other. So all that means is they're not independent, they're not anything. They just, that's all they check.
Okay.
But you see it's 6%. So in close races, those can be the swing voters. All right, let's keep going here. I started mentioning the reapportionment commission. The last Tuesday at fiscal court, 3 names were brought forward that would be on the commission itself. Myself was one of them. Jane Cobble Royer, who she's a good friend of mine. She's a fellow Rotarian. Matter of fact, I got her to help buy my daughter's house. She was the realtor. So she is on the commission, and then, oh, I just forgot his name.
What's the commission?
No,
Uh,
I'll think of it here in a
Wayne,
second.
what's the commission?
Adam,
Reapportionment commission.
Adam, was retired from KIPTA. Ball, no,
Yeah. We'll come.
yeah.
So three names were brought forward that the fiscal court agreed upon unanimously. So we are the commission that will be meeting. We're having our first meeting on Friday to start talking about redrawing the boundaries for the 8 magisterial districts. So we know some areas in the last 10 years have grown pretty significantly, and other areas not so much. So the whole thing is we got to get them back in balance. So this happens every 10 years. Difference this year is that the software is a lot better. So that'll be very helpful in, moving things around to make sure everything stays.
Just to add to that, Blaine, we're a year and a half out or whatever because of COVID. The census was not completed on a 10-year cycle like it was. So that's why we're, this far out to do that process.
Right. So to Kevin's point, if for some reason, Kevin, for example, I'll use him, he is our magistrate in District 4. Well, let's say that because of the way we draw the lines, he's now in District 3. Does that mean Kevin's out of a job? No. But come the next election in 2 years, you now have to run in that district. So if that were to happen, there could be an issue where 2 people could be running against each other. But JD, you have a comment?
So when I was magistrate, I was the chair of that committee on the county. I was the elected official who chaired that committee. And a couple of things, we did not do the stuff you hear about in New York and we weren't rigging the game on the elections. We went in and analyzed where people were, the increases in population and everything. We worked to even that out. And so it was a very bipartisan thing to do. And so it's not something that we have to stress about because the magistrates on the end do vote on the results, and they can change them pretty significantly when it comes to court.
So the 3 of us are the citizen committee. Amy Alvey is on the committee, but she's a non-voting member. And then Barry Baxter is our advisor, the county attorney. So there's basically 5 of us that will be meeting starting on Friday, and we've got 60 days to get it done. So we were appointed last week, so we've got to get it done by basically mid-July. So I'll keep you guys posted. Should be interesting to see how that all comes about.
Someone said they can't hear on Zoom. It's I don't know the name. It's a cell phone number, 541 number.
Well, and I don't know who 5-4. Yeah, we got to get names. Whoever says does not have that, but I'm mic'd up here, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. I'll try to stay in front of the phone too.
Blaine, it was Adam Forsyth.
Forsyth, thank you. All right. The other thing is, this was a topic of conversation as it goes down, which was there was comments about businesses, and I'll use Dairy Queen as the example, who were told you can only put 1 political sign in front of your business, not per race, 1 political sign.
And it could only be a snipe sign. That's what people were saying.
So when I think JD was one of the first people that brought it to my attention, and great time to talk to someone. I saw Mayor Black at Rick Rash's funeral. So I said, let's talk about political science. Rick would have appreciated that, I think. But I just said, Mayor. So first off, previous year, you're on the ballot, no issue. And now all the city races are done and we're going to make this an issue. And he just said, Blaine, who's our code enforcement, Stephanie? He said she was out of the state and the assistant was doing a little overreach. He said, if you think that I as mayor would ever enforce that, or if they thought they could come to us with a fine, that they're gonna fine a business for having more than one campaign sign, not happening. And he said, further to that, think about that as a court case. You want to try to limit First Amendment rights? Free speech also goes to political signs. So he said, no, that's absolutely not something. So, yes.
Oh, I just wanted to say too, I think the mayor and Stephanie were having a bit of a discussion on a Facebook page going back and forth about the sign.
Okay,
Did you see that?
I did not. Did it seem to come to that same conclusion?
Well, yeah, but the conclusion was that she was basically quoting some law.
So, well, maybe that law has to be changed. So,
It's not a law, they passed an ordinance in the Grange a couple years ago, and but they've never enforced it. And so the new code enforcement person got here, and they, it's election season, they went out and did their job,
But she's been here for years. That's called a law, hasn't she?
No, she was gone, and her assistant is the one that told people not to bring signs.
Oh, okay.
So we got on it. It was, like you said, John Black fixed it right away. As soon as it-
I have a little something to say about the signs, Blaine.
Yeah.
There are not many of us here, but we are precinct officers, and I would say that we should help our county. If you see a sign, a political sign, it's time that it came down. I don't care if you're part of the person, I think, but it needs to come down. Is that all right?
that is, you're gonna be next to speak. All the folks out in Zoom are gonna hear you in a second. All right,
That's all of us now, get the signs down.
and I've, some of the larger signs that you see in some of the bigger intersections, I know for both Nipper and for Cooper Rider, Bill Kunkel from Northern Kentucky, he was putting those up in many different counties. So I've reached out to Bill and said, hey, are you planning to get down here? I don't have time to get it, personally take them down. But I'm sure he wants his poles and stuff back. So I've asked him to try to. Oh, is he?
We volunteered you.
Well, unfortunately, I'm out of town on Saturday. I would have done it this weekend, but
Somebody getting the big signs up here, 253, so maybe.
okay, because he hit 6-7 locations that I'm aware of.
When on the calendar, when does the next round begin, when signs are permitted?
I always say 30 days. You have a comment, Lance?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we do need to try to push to get that ordinance changed explicitly. Just so there's no ambiguity about it in the future, regardless of who the mayor is. And I would suggest a carve out for political and religious signs. I get that you don't want 70 signs on every property in the city. These ordinances usually make a lot of sense. But those are two explicitly permitted types of speech in the First Amendment. So
I agree.
when
You make a note of that, Deborah. I'll follow up with that. All right. The other thing, I just kind of put it in here, in case you don't get the Oldham era, which the vast majority of people in Oldham County do not. I always say, guys, publicity is good for us. So this was on the community page. You can see to the left there, Kevin is enjoying a sizzle dog. It sounds like haven't been over there myself yet, but on the right hand side, you see a nice picture of me and the fire chief. And if you were to go down on the page, see if I can. Right below it, Cameron to visit LaGrange May 10th. Right below this, Republican Women's Club holds their spring brunch. So I mean, that community page was talking a lot of stuff about Republicans. This was just a little bigger picture there that you could see. So again, it's not about me, guys. It's just about getting publicity out there. That's not just always get out and vote, whatever. All right, let me shut up and turn it over to Miss Mary Broker, who has a couple updates.
Oh, so other things down on the agenda to talk about, but I thought I would just mention in Jackson County, there's also women are having dinner this coming Thursday. If I'm gonna go, if anybody would like to go, let me know. I think there's room at the table. There we go. Use my little speaker. And but it is $200 a person. So men can go, even though the women are putting it on. One reason I'm going is several people that we know are supporting that support us considerably, and Turnabout's fair play. So just thought I'd mention that. Let me know if you'd like to go.
Did you want to talk the other two things now, or
I thought I'd do them in order.
the memorial?
Well, I thought they would go under other committees, so.
Okay. Okay, all right, let's go to the treasurer's report. And you can see we've got it listed there. Not much really to report here. Checkbook balance, let me move that up so everybody can see that okay. Checkbook balance, $20,153, ITC at $638, so our total balance of $20,791. We had 2 checks that cleared, $18 for Jim. We just bought some supplies, and then the web hosting check for $335 did clear. We have no other outstanding checks. Bob, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't think you like checks.
Well, soon, we're gonna be writing more checks here soon. All right, anything else though?
No, that's it.
Okay, I would look for a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion.
Wes, and do we have a second? Lindsay, any other discussion? All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, we're on to new business. First is the election of a new treasurer. If you were not at our last meeting, Bob has submitted his resignation as treasurer. Done a great job. I think maybe next month, that's right. Maybe we'll have to have a little, retirement party next month. We'll find out, Robin, what he likes, huh? But we're gonna make that effective. That resignation will be effective as of July 1st. Okay, a couple reasons for that. Number one, he's helping us get the next semi-annual report off, the KREF report off. Number two is we're about to have an election, and whoever we elect tonight, remember, once the minutes are ratified, that's when the person actually takes office. So the person would not take office as the treasurer until the June 23rd meeting, I think it is roughly there. Okay, so at this point, I would accept nominations for the treasurer position. JD.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Clayton Raymer. He is a accountant, and he manages the accountancy for one of the largest federal contractors. So he's been a long time supporter of the county government or the county GOP, and he'd be a very hardworking guy. He works here locally, and so we can count on him to help us when we do a call.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Kevin Jeffries. Do we have any other nominations for the treasurer position? Hearing none, I would accept the motion to close nominations.
So moved.
So moved by Kevin Jeffries. Do I have a second? Seconded by JD. All right, there we go. This will make it real easy. And folks, we have had the conversation with Clayton. This is not a surprise to him. He has raised his hand and said he would be more than willing to step up and assist. And we know, besides chair, probably one of the biggest jobs is where that gentleman is sitting. So with that, All those in favor of Clayton Raymer as our new treasurer, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Clayton, congratulations. I'm gonna. You want to go with a quick, mic there, just to tell us a little bit more about yourself? Those that don't know.
I think JD summed it up pretty nice. I've been an accountant for a good bit of my life, as an auditor before that, and I worked for a company called Serco. They're a defense contractor around the world. Yeah, I've got 3 kids, live here in Crestwood, and not going anywhere. So that's about me in a nutshell.
All right.
Army veteran too.
I did that too.
Hey, that's an important one. Okay, again, just so everybody's aware, once we approve the minutes at our next meeting, that's when Clayton, well, and again, it would actually technically be, yeah, we will be having a board meeting between now and then to kind of dot a few I's and cross some T's and whatnot, and start getting them aware of some of the fun stuff that we do here. So again, that's great to have that position filled. The next thing I have under new business is the appointment of a special committee on candidate contributions. If you all recall, we did this last year, roughly this time, where we had a committee come together and make recommendations for the various candidates that we gave money to. All the way down here. Come on. So a special committee, this is per RPK rules, a special committee may be created and shall exist at the pleasure of the county chairman. I like how that's written, at the pleasure of the county chairman. Such committee shall be subject to ratification by the county committee. Okay, so we're going to take a vote tonight just to make sure everybody's good with what we're about to do. We already have done it before, and this is not a precedent. The objective is to recommend to the county committee contributions from the OCGOP, whenever it comes back up, for the candidates for the various statewide offices. If you recall, a month or 2 ago where we approved the budget, I think we sort of gave an outline of, I think it was $15,000. And that's a guideline. I mean, it's part of what we budgeted. They may, go a little higher, they may go a little bit lower, but that is sort of the guideline that we put out there in the budget. So that's the objective. The special committee will meet. I'm putting a little timeline on them. I want them to meet before the next GOP meeting scheduled for June 27th. Why? A lot of these candidates could use some money. So I'd love for us to be voting on this at our next meeting in June, so we could potentially be writing some checks out here in the next 30 or 45 days. Not all members may be able to agree to a date and a time, but I know we've got several people that have already raised their hand, but I need a minimum of 6 members to be present. I don't want this to be, we've put 7, 8, 9 names out there and only 3 showed up, and there we go. And last year when we did this, I put Zoom may be considered an option because I was driving from Minnesota back to Kentucky and I listened in on the conversation myself. And I am not going to be a voting member of the committee, but I said that might be an option if you wanted to be on the committee, but you were not able to meet in person. So the first order of business is I am asking for approval as the county chairman to create a special committee on candidate contributions. Can I have a second? And I'm actually the one that's putting forward that motion. Second by Mary. Is there any discussion on that? I think this is pretty straightforward. Lance?
Just the question is are these contributions going to be separate from our own get out the vote efforts that might get county funding for those things? Or is that going to be part of this committee's purview also? So just like.
No, this specifically is just for the
candidate.
Correct. Yep, very, very. Last year. Any discussion on that? This is just to create the special committee. Okay, again, it needs county committee approval. All in favor of creating the committee, I'll signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, great. Now, that being said, I've asked Kevin, and this is some of the folks that I've talked to so far. I've asked Kevin if he would be willing to chair the committee. He has agreed to it. Matter of fact, he said we would be happy to open up his the Farm Bureau office right kind of across from Kroger. We've met there on various occasions at that office. These are some of the folks that we've talked to that have raised their hand, if you will. Our past treasurer, Bob Vessels, our soon-to-be treasurer, Clayton Raymer, Mary, JD, Becky, Deborah, Iva, Kenda. These are all folks that I know I've talked to or they've expressed an interest in being on the committee. Is there anyone else that would like to be on the committee?
I was on it last year, so.
Oh, okay, all right. And did I see it, John? All right, so we got you got the list, right? So Peggy and John.
Now, I'll need to get their contact information or whatever.
Okay, and thank you for saying that. Well, and we've got that. We've got all that because everybody is an officer. Because technically, a special committee, you don't technically have to be an officer to be on a special committee. All right, so 2 additional names.
Was it Becky and John? Peggy and John.
Peggy and John.
Peggy and John. Okay. Those are the 2. Okay.
Anyone else? I mean, that gives us a good section. And then the last year's meeting, there was a good discussion as to how the contributions. Remember, at the end of the day, folks, this group will approve whatever that committee comes forth with a recommendation. So it's not whatever they say goes. It does need county approval to disperse the funds. Okay. All right. Good. I don't believe that needs a vote. We'll just have that listed and Kevin will reach out to you folks here probably in short order. Because like I say, I'd like to have that done within the next 30 days. Okay.
Let me just ask one quick question. Does it work better if we try to do it on a Saturday? Saturday morning or something like that? Is that, some folks are working, so, we can certainly, and I'll reach out, and see what dates would be good, but, we'll probably try to do it Saturday morning.
Are we talking about just a one-time meeting?
Probably, yeah, I think we could probably get this done in, one meeting.
I'm gonna, sorry, I'm having a squirrel moment here. I'm gonna put this in each row. If you'll just kind of pass it back. This is, if anyone is interested, I can do this earlier, but if you're interested in serving on one of the committees, and Mary's gonna talk about some of the committees here in a moment. If you're interested in serving on one of the committees, just let us know so we can start getting that together. We've got a couple other things that are gonna be coming up. Okay, so we've got that done. Under unfinished business. Standing committee, and I know I'm gonna just kind of open the floor if I could to Miss Tichenor, Senator Tichenor.
Did you have a report from Connor?
Did not.
Okay. Let me sit here. So education, Oldham County had, I missed the last meeting, and since then, Liz Fletcher retired. And we have a new school board member, Allison Shepherd. She's so far doing a great job. We're excited to have her on there. She will have to run again in November. Is that correct? Or is it next year? It's next year. Joe will have to run again this November. And Dodson will be up next year, no? Yeah. No, this year. Okay. It's confusing. My memory is, I used to know that stuff. I used to remember it all. So some of the things that are happening at the school board level with the passage of SB 5, the obscenity bill, and SB 150, policies are needing to be created, and they're waiting for guidance from Kentucky School Board Association and KDE on those policies. We did have a couple of people speak out at the school board meeting yesterday. One was Clint Elliott, and he suggested citizen involvement in those policies. So we're hoping that they'll be open to that. They are looking at new curriculum. When we passed a little cleanup bill of the Read to Succeed Act, SB 156, and they are looking at some new literacy curriculum, because now they're required to have structured literacy, which is phonics. So they're looking at some curriculum. Some of it we're not super excited about, that has some content in it that's very, very woke. And a lot of parents have been raising their voices about that to encourage them not to use that curriculum. Unfortunately, it's already being used in 2 schools and have also already been ordered for another school. So hopefully we can undo that and get that out. So that's that for education.
All right. Does anyone just, again, we are running through the agenda quickly. Does anyone have any questions for our state senator?
About education. About,
If you show up. No,
I'd like to hear, if you don't care, just, what you've been up to, was a surprising thing about your position or anything like that.
Oh, senator question. So we're in the interim right now. We'll start having our interim committee meetings June 1st. Those are joint committees, so House members and senators will meet from each committee together and discuss upcoming legislation. We'll look at some different departments that are in our government and see how things are operating, and probably roll through some regulatory approval that we need to make, which is interesting because thanks to Laura for bringing this up. She wrote an interesting article about or a post on Facebook about our agencies and how much regulatory power really truly just affects us and seems to magically become law even without the legislature voting those things in. So we do have oversight of those, although we don't write those regulations. So some of that stuff we'll do in interim. In the meantime, I've been just meeting with different organizations and trying to get familiar with different groups. I met with the veterans group and got to watch them do some equine therapy for vets, and that was really neat. That was in Taylorsville, and met with a long-term facility for drug rehab yesterday, and that was interesting as well. We get to learn about that and what legislation could help fund long-term care for rehab for drug and addiction, alcohol addiction. So different things like that, JD, are kind of what I'm up to right now.
is there any town halls or road shows that you see on the horizon before the next session?
So I believe Judge Vogel, at the request of a community member, is putting together sometime in July. I don't think we've nailed down the date yet. A gun safety forum.
Well, it's not just guns, it's just, safety in schools.
Safety in schools,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So do you know if the date has been?
I think it has. I'll have to get that date. I don't have it on top of my head, but it's in July. It's early
Yeah.
July.
I think it's mid-July, maybe 3rd week of July. So for community safety, and that came about after the shooting downtown at the bank, and community member reached out and really encouraged us as elected officials to get together and have that discussion. So they're putting that together in July. I will probably do a community forum a little bit closer to fall, maybe in the fall as we head into session.
All right, great.
Question. You hear a lot of talk at the federal level, especially about legislation being written sort of vaguely, and then the regulatory agencies being the ones with the real power.
Go ahead.
What are the processes in Kentucky? Do you have oversight as a group of senators if you've written legislation to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, one of the things I would love to see changed is stronger wording in our bills and to eliminate a lot of gray areas. Because every session, and this is, I'm new, right? But this session was supposed to be a cleanup session because some of the things were just not tightened, and I'm seeing this right now with this curriculum coming into, as Oldham County's looking at different curriculum, and schools across the state are looking at different curriculum for their literacy changes that they need to be making, but they're overlooking some of the parts of SB1, which incorporated SB 138 to try and get the critical race theory out of our schools. But the wording around that in particular in the bill, the final wording was so vague that there's really no enforcement to that. And so the schools are just kind of bypassing and going ahead and bringing in curriculum that has those elements still in them. So yeah, we need to tighten all of that up. As far as the regulatory stuff, we have oversight when we have, like Cabinet for Health and Family Services will come with all these changes and regulations. And in the session, when those things are happening, session is so busy. So it's really hard to read through all of those, but the first couple of committee meetings I went to, I read through every one. And I would pick up and see things that were being changed that were really concerning to me. But all we can do on our end is just question it and encourage them to reword it. And then that puts it on hold, and then they come back with something different. But we can't necessarily, they write it, we don't write that. And so it's something we have to be paying attention to in order to
So if
change, stop those little details from being changed on the regulatory level that really come down to, they really do affect us very directly.
if an agency goes what you might consider rogue and writes something that's counter to what the intent was, what's the recourse? Is it next time to tighten up the language or?
Yeah,
Really?
essentially, yeah. We can push back and question them and try to get them to change it. If you ever watch any of the committee meetings, the hearings on KET, they can be a little bit interesting. And a lot of our chairs, one in particular, we had Steve, I think it was Steve West in Education. They were going hard at the KDE and the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. I think Steve Meredith, Senator Meredith, was having some interesting questioning. That was, you know, that's kind of where we can try to keep them in line, I guess, to some degree. But I mean, we're a smaller government. Our government's huge. It is huge across the state, across the nation. It all needs to be tightened down, in my opinion.
There are two recourses. If they pass a regulation that conflicts with the law, they can be sued. So the courts can step in and basically nullify a regulation. But the real way that it should be handled is there's a joint interim committee on licensing, occupation, and administrative regulation. And so they have meetings during the summer and they basically say, this regulation that you had does not meet the legal standards that are set forth in the law. Now, the problem in the law is even if they rule one of those regulations deficient, that doesn't mean that it isn't applicable, as crazy as that sounds. So the committee can say that this regulation does not meet legal standards. However, they don't have the authority to take that off of the books to basically remove that regulation. This happened when the KDE imposed a mask mandate. During the interim committee, they basically had a meeting and said, this is inconsistent with what the intent of the law was, and therefore it's deficient. Nevertheless, that mandate, that regulation was still applicable. There's been a bill filed the last two sessions that basically says any regulation that gets ruled deficient automatically is stricken. That hasn't passed for some reason that I don't understand. If you're a legislator, why would you not want to basically take control of that process and allow the boards to control it? So hopefully we get a version of that bill passed such that if this committee meets and says this regulation doesn't fit with what we intended in the law, then it gets stricken from the books. But currently, the only real way to do it is to file a lawsuit.
All right, thank you. Thank you. What do we have next on the agenda here? Oh, legislative committee. I don't know.
I
JD?
had a point of order for something we chatted about earlier.
Yeah.
I got a text from the state, GOP, and they said that if somebody is in our meeting supporting a candidate other than our candidate, and they won't leave our meeting, so we can go into executive session and remove everybody from the meeting except officers and people that we
Okay.
allow in the meeting.
Additional point of clarification, it's in the meeting, the support. So if I choose to go into my neighborhood and have a picnic and I decide to tell my neighbors who I want to vote for, and it's not one of the Republicans, but I'm a member, I'm not an officer here, You can't exclude me from coming to GOP meetings.
Yeah, we can.
No, you can't. What you just said was, I may not come here and campaign or advocate for someone other than a Republican. That makes sense. But if I choose to do so outside of this group and outside of this meeting, you may not violate my First Amendment right
No,
and say, I can't advocate in my neighborhood. Get
we
another
didn't,
text.
didn't say you couldn't do that, but number one, First Amendment is the government can intrude, we're not a government entity. All right, so you can't tell us you have First Amendment right to come into our meeting here.
No,
You can ask
what
any
did I just
places
say,
in
JD?
the
I
meeting
said,
that you
I'm
want.
not at your meeting. I'm in my backyard at my
Yeah.
picnic.
And if we know,
Okay.
if we have people come to us and saying, she's supporting so and so,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not the
Sorry,
interpretation
you're
that makes
wrong.
sense. You're wrong.
All right, let's come back to order here.
Can I just suggest that we recommend RPK makes this rules clear on this topic?
We,
They have been very clear about an officer cannot do this.
Right.
What about regular members? So it would be good if that were clarified.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
and I had asked Deborah earlier just to make a note so that I can communicate directly with the RPK. So, okay, again, Lance, I know the legislative committee is kind of on stand down right now and you know, no meetings that are upcoming. So is there anything that you want to add?
June sixth, and these are almost always open to the public. So if you have June sixth off in that next couple weeks, any day you want, you can go up to Frankfurt and sit in on some meetings. What happens in these joint committee meetings are basically, if you can find it on the legislature.ky.gov website, what the interim calendar is. And so June sixth is, among others, the education committee. And so that will be all the members of the House or the Senate education committees that can make it. That not all of them will show up for all of these. But what they're doing is basically presenting ideas for eventual legislation in the next session.
Thank you. That we were.
Okay. I'm sure I'm almost certain they're on KDD also. You don't want to go to Frankfurt, you can watch them on KDD.
All right, thank you. Other committees. We've got the Oldham County GOP booth. Becky and JD are spearheading that. Again, I've got sign-up sheets there. We'll make sure we send that out to everybody else as well. If you can help on either of those, excuse me, I'm on booth right now, but if you can help with the booth and attending the booth, that's very helpful to have a nice crowd there. Any comments, Becky or JD, on that committee?
Is there anything that people think will be fun to give away at the booth? Is that cost on?
Well, and I've given a couple of hats and a first responder flag, and this is a Second Amendment mug. So just some of the stuff in our stockpile over here. So you know, if there's some other things, just nice. Again, we'll do the same thing. A gift basket if you put your name, and you know, we capture some information from folks. So
You know where our spots go to this year?
I don't, and we're usually
Limited room.
all together, right? Women's club, us, and the youth.
Candace on the booth committee. It'll be good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I don't think it'd be a good idea for my dad.
Yes.
Your father.
Well, if Bob works, I just can't show up because he and I have I think when I'm in his proximity, then we have an issue.
Maybe we could borrow like a football wheel or something and you put him inside of a glass enclosed air conditioned space or something.
All right. And then again, I know a number of folks helped with the float last year. So if you have some time and can assist with putting together the float, Kenda is working on that. So Yeah, Lance again.
Yeah, on the booth, are you allowed to sell anything there? I was thinking, you could use it as a fundraiser, selling just water. But these are almost always scorching hot. Even if it's $1 water, it also serves as a fundraiser. I don't know if you're allowed to do that. or not.
You can. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
And that's typically, we've usually had a couple of, couple of cases of water that we've given to folks. Again, more goodwill than anything. So, oh, Deborah's. Okay, all right. Under announcements, Deborah.
No,
Oldham-
no, 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 no. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
I have a committee.
okay.
Okay. Let's see. First of all, Memorial Day is next Monday. It's at the Veterans Park in front of the South Oldham High School. It starts at 10. Some of us will be there at 9 o'clock with donuts, coffee, water, ice, a table. And all of us are welcome to be there and greet people. It's not that we need to come as Republicans because we are honoring the veterans. They will know that we're Republicans, but we don't need to put it in their face, I don't think. And let's see, I'll be there at 9 with the basics that we need. And I'll have trays that we can go out into the crowd and offer them coffee or donuts. It's very informal. So I'd love to have you come. And if you think you'll be there, just raise your hand and I'll just take a quick count. 1, 2. Good. It's at Crestwood, right in front of South Oldham. There's the Veterans Park there. It's very nice, very nice. Also, all right. Any more questions about that? Yeah.
Last year, we discovered there was no electricity.
There's no electricity.
Is there?
There's no electricity. We don't need electricity. We don't need it.
Well, to keep the coffee.
My coffee pot is 58 cups and we only served 40. So it's not a problem. Anyway, I'm not worried about it. So no electricity and no generators. Okay. It'll be all right. A lot of people like cold coffee. Iced coffee. The other thing I want to bring up is the luncheon, Oldham County Day luncheon to honor the Grand Marshal. The Grand Marshal is Bobby Stess. And that is on the Tuesday before Oldham County Day, which is the 11th at the John Black Center. I have tickets for sale. They're $20 a piece. Our caterer's gone up to $17 a plate. The food will be good. The speakers will be good. And I'm chairman, I will put on the tables, table reserved for Republican, whatever, women, GOP, whatever it is. So we've got about 130 tickets sold already. And if you'd like one, I can sell you one tonight.
There you go.
Okay. And I can sell you one in June too. All right. Thank you.
All right. I gotta imagine for most people in this room probably know who Bobby is. I mean, she's been incredible as far as the amount of volunteer work that she does and her former husband. And I know I've contributed every year with our Rotary Club to the gift baskets. They put about 350 gift baskets together. When I say gift baskets, folks, like my Rotary Club, we buy, help them to buy 350 hams. You know, that's not cheap anymore, right, Denise? But I mean, it is just, these boxes are just packed full of food. It's not just enough for a meal for a day. I mean, this is enough to keep folks going for, they could be going for a, week plus. So she's a great choice as the Grand Marshal. So appreciate that. Okay. Miss Deborah, what's happening with the Women's Club?
Oh,
the most recent thing that we've done, in May was our brunch social that we always have right before the primary election during the election. Is it off? You can't hear me?
It's only going into the phone, it's not for us out here.
No,
Oh.
yeah, it's just for Zoom.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, no. We had our social brunch on May 11th, right before the, no, was it May 13th? Right before the primary election. We had a good attendance and we actually had some elected officials there as well as candidates. And we were able to replenish our scholarship fund for next year, so we're set for that. And as far as what else we've got going on, we are busy now working on our other federation task, which will be going on for June and July, as we also get ready to get out the vote for November. So that's all we have right now. Thank you.
All right, very good. Next for the Liberty Ladies Republican Club. If Pam has, yeah, I'll pass that back to Pam. And I've talked to Pam beforehand, and besides talking briefly about what she's got going on at the Liberty Lady Club, she's asked if she could share something, which I think everybody in this room would like to hear what has happened.
Thank you. So if you had access to WDRB.com over the last couple of days, the headline reads, police say Louisville man stopped with AK-47, body armor, planned to kill his Oldham County family. That family was my son, his wife, and my two grandbabies. They are 3 and 5. And so I thank God for a couple of things. It was Oldham County was where he was caught because it started in Jefferson County. He initially threatened his father and his stepmother, and they live in Douglas Hills. And the amazing Louisville Metro Police said, oh, well, you'll need to come down and fill out a report and we will take action from there. And so after he waved a gun in his stepmother's face, and then as he leaves, and beyond that, while they're down with LMPD, he is threatening, the threats are continuing. And his plan initially was to torture his father by killing his sister and her kids, and torture his stepmother by killing her daughter and then her family. So by the grace of God, it was in Oldham County is where they caught him. But I tell you, when Brandon found out the threat was coming, he reached out to Oldham County PD and the Sheriff's Department, and they were all over it. So when they finally pinged his cell phone and he's coming up 329 after he texted my son's address and said, I'm on my way, the Sheriff's Department was right there, and the police, and they caught him, and he's in the Oldham County Jail right now. So the second thing I'm grateful for is our police department and our Sheriff's Department. They had Brandon's whole neighborhood covered. They had every entrance covered. They had officers in the kitchen for hours at the house. So just to say that my decision to get involved last year with all of the campaigning and all the candidates and getting to know people, I was able to reach out to Tim Wakefield and say thank you. And he gave us an email, and Brandon was able to say thank you. So just to say, the next time you think about it, it's not going to happen to me, or, oh, that's bad. It actually could. And our police department was amazing. So with that, I would just say, just thank God we got who we got. So that's that. So now I'm done with that part. I want to introduce my friend, Lisa Harris. She's here tonight. She is going to tell us about the Liberty Ladies, the next Liberty Ladies function. We're on the 3rd Thursday of June. We're at third turn. And here you go, Lisa.
Okay. Well, thank you. And thank you for the warm welcome. And we're praying for you and your family. After telling me earlier today. So we thank God that everybody's okay. Yes, on the 3rd Thursday in June, we're going to be at third turn. And we're going to be hosting Chartrell Hall. And also, I believe Lindsey will be there. Is that correct? Okay, right. And so, say again, at third turn? Third turn.
Yep.
Yes, yes, and we'll be having that meeting. He's gonna come out and discuss his plight, his vision, and what he believes should happen in the Conservative Party from his point of view. So we're setting that up. Chartrell Hall from Jefferson County. Yeah, the candidate that ran from here. And yes, as a community outreach leader. So we're excited about that. And I'm excited to be a part of the process with this and with Lady Liberty ladies. Thanks.
Lisa comes to us from Georgia, so we get.
Yes.
Of that deal. Georgia loses. We win.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you.
So look for some information to come out on that, but third Thursday, third turn. And
All right, thank you.
I have a little something to add.
Speaking of, it can't happen to me. My first cousin is one of two people that was kidnapped by the convict that kicked his way out of the car and had them drive him to Soren Avenue. So it can happen to you. Yeah. They were not hurt, but the emotional after effects is long lasting.
my head around the fact that my son, his wife, and my two grandbabies were each one county. But then when I thought beyond that, I thought, but if that was in Jefferson County, that would be probably Paris is right. Anyway, but all involved were amazing professionals. We did good last spring. We elected our sheriff.
That would make a good letter to the editor.
And I'm sure Mr. Tyndall's taking great care of him. Yes, yes, indeed. All right, great. Thank you for that. Okay, Kevin, normally we do allow our elected representative, our officials to make any sort of comments. I will add that Jason, he usually is at these meetings. He expresses his regrets. We'll put him on the excused list here. He contacted me just a couple hours ago before the meeting. His son is in a regional baseball game tonight or something. I know all the spring sports are winding down and his son is part of that. So I guess that's a little more important, being at his son's baseball game than hanging out with us, but we'll let that go. All right,
Alrighty.
Kevin.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to, and Pam, to follow up, I'm so pleased that the county police, and we've made an effort on court to increase their funding and trying to do some things to our dispatch now. We're fully staffed at dispatch. We're pretty close to being fully staffed at the county police. So both the county police and the sheriff's offices are doing a great job. And I think, really proud of the leadership we've got there. And so I'm just so thankful that, that it worked out and that they were able to get them stopped, him stopped before that anything happened. Just to follow up a little bit about that, this last fiscal court meeting, we voted to approve 4 flock cameras. And what a flock camera is they're going to be located in all of the 4 entrances into Oldham County. And what they do, if there is somebody that they need to track, like if there's somebody that's coming out here from Jefferson County to rob or steal cars or whatever, they pass these flock cameras and they read the license plate on the flock camera or with the flock camera, and then they can send that as to where those vehicles are moving within the county. A lot of subdivisions are also putting them in out here. So if, they go into a subdivision and they come back out, they can track those vehicles and hopefully catch them a lot quicker than they could if they didn't have that. So we spent $25,000 here last week to fund 4 cameras. And so we're going to see how those work. And then we might expand that to, different areas of the county. But we think the areas that are using them, and there's some areas in Jefferson County
that have Norton Commons has got several of them up, and it's really helped to catch some folks that are going out robbing and stealing and whatever. So
So it's not going to be used to catch speeding bus drivers going through
well,
neighborhoods?
probably not. Probably not.
All
So
right.
a couple things, Blaine, and I'll send this to you. There's a senior seminar that's going to be on June 8th. And what it is, the judge has set up a seminar at the John Black Center, and it's going to be, I think, starts at 10 o'clock, but I'll send you the indication, I mean, the information about it. But it's going to be to talk about Medicare, Medicaid, a lot of the fraud that's going on for seniors, you know, people, bank accounts, and if they're online, you know, how they can protect their identity and things like that. So we hope to get a good turnout. And like I say, it's going to be on June 8th at the John Black Center. So, sure.
Now, would these be like, police officers, as opposed to like a private?
Yes. Yes, my understanding is it's going to be mostly, you know, I think police officers, and I've got a printout here. I mean, that will show you exactly who's supposed to be speaking and that kind of thing. So, but we just thought it was important because, you know, we're hearing all the time about, you know, folks being defrauded and you know, people writing checks to, you know, to whoever and not getting the money back. So we thought that would be a good, you know, so anyway, I'll send that to Blaine and get him to send that out to our email list here so everybody can hopefully attend that. Couple of things, talked to Amy Alvey today. Looks like the voting locations are going to be 9 of them again this in November. They're going to have 3 days of early voting at the John Black Center. They are going to move 2 of the locations. They're going to move back from the fire department at Pee Wee over to St. Al's. And then they're also going to move the one that was over at Sojourn Church on 42 down to Goshen Elementary. So that gets it down a little bit further down the, you know, so some of the developments over there can, you know, have a little bit closer voting location. So she said, other than that, they doesn't think there'd be a lot of changes, you know, as far as the voting locations this fall. Budget, we're currently working on the budget. I'm on Finance Committee. We've had the first reading. Yeah, the budget is posted on the Oldham County website. So if you know, go online and you can take a look at it. If you have any questions, you know, reach out to me or be glad to try to answer them or whatever. We're going to have a second reading, which will be the final reading on the first meeting in June at fiscal court. So that is process moving forward. We're in the process of hiring a new county treasurer. Melissa Horn is retiring at the end of June. And so we're been meeting with some potential, matter of fact, we're meeting tomorrow with and doing some, looking at some resumes and trying to get somebody hired to replace her. So, you know, she's the county treasurer and been there quite a while. So it's, you know, it's a difficult, as you know, hiring folks, especially somebody that's a CPA or whatever, is not too easy at this point. So we're in that process. And one last thing, fiber installation. I'm sure high-speed fiber, AT&T is making really good progress across the county. I'm sure you're seeing a lot of activity of, you know, digging up in people's yards and you know, running lines overhead, but they're ahead of schedule a little bit on where they're supposed to be at this time. They've got until May of 24 to complete that project, and everybody in Oldham County that wants high-speed internet access, which is 1,000 gigabits up and 1,000 gigabits down at, I think, $55 or whatever is what they're saying it's going to be. So it's going to be pretty reasonable and really high speed. So we're excited to get that project, you know, towards completion. And I think everybody, you know, they've turned on several areas of the county. So there's folks that are already accessing that as they get the sections completed. So Blaine, that's all I have unless anybody has any questions. Sure. Okay, Robin, sorry.
Yeah, fiber, now, this contract only would be for houses that existed at the time the contract was signed.
I think my understanding is that if, you know, if you've got in a subdivision or whatever, and a new house gets built or whatever, you know, as long as it's in that, on that corridor or whatever, it you know, it will be served. So,
I've got one more thing.
okay.
Sometimes I like to do some reading and sometimes I like to go back to the minutes of the report.
Mhm.
The minutes really aren't being posted like they should be. Like
Okay.
The most recent one maybe from January.
Okay,
So,
I'll check on that.
yeah.
We've got a new person, Tara Long is a new, is doing that. So she might, be a little bit behind, but I'll check on that. Okay. Clayton?
Questions. One was, is there a schedule we can look at for when the fiber optic will be ran in the county to different areas?
No, there is a, they put a map out, but it's so fluid or whatever. And so, and AT&T says that's kind of some of their private information or whatever. We meet with them about once a quarter or whatever to get updated. And they, they're telling us they brought in 30 additional crews that they're across the county or whatever. And they're working, they're getting along pretty well. I mean, as far as getting things done, I get a lot of questions about, well, what about my area? That kind of thing. They really don't have it broken down into that fine of a data set, as to where they, where they're working and where they're going to work next. They're just trying to move as they can. So
I could say this though, Kevin, again, talk to anyone in the transportation department. They'll tell you the next neighborhood because
Right.
you can see where they're making all the markings on the ground and all that stuff. So for example, I know Clark's Point is an area that they've marked up completely, that they're just starting to get in there. And if I could, I tell you, as I am driving around every day, these guys are and gals are incredibly hardworking people. I mean, how would you like to be digging ditches all day? That's what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Second question, is there limitations to the size of the neighborhood? I mean, if you're got 5 houses on the street.
Nope. The contract says every home in Oldham County that wants it will be able to access it. So they've got, and I get questions all the time. Well, what about Westport, 524 and some of those areas, where you got one house every, half a mile or whatever. Now, the contract says every home in Oldham County. Now you don't have to take it, but it will be available at one point by May of 2024.
Mine, I'm in the back of the internet is getting the box.
Right.
In front of it.
Right.
We're at the end of, so the guy's like, you want to spend $20,000 from the
Yeah,
line closer
yeah.
to you. I'm like, well, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But we can't have that internet. It's wireless.
Right. But by May of next year, you will have a high-speed internet. That's what they tell us. I mean, that, I guess anything can happen, but yeah, they are ahead. Any other questions? Lance?
A very simple one. What time is this?
2:00.
On what day?
The first Tuesday and the third Tuesday.
And then you said that so I have some serious civil libertarian concerns about clock cameras.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, the pro for that side is you're gonna possibly be able to track criminals and be able to locate them. But those clock cameras basically track everybody's location.
They can.
So there have been 2 recent bills that have not passed in the last session, but sought to regulate those or to ban them.
Right.
So this $25,000 allocation, was that a one-time thing or is that a annual?
That's a
fee?
subscription.
Subscription.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a
So like
subscription.
The legislature bans us next year, we're just out to 25,000.
Correct.
We just wouldn't renew it.
Correct.
Okay.
And like I say, there's a lot of neighborhoods that are also putting them up and so, we're, like I said, we've only funded 4 of them and it'll be on like 146 and, where you come into the county. And so, I understand. I mean, there's some questions about them, but I think that with what's going on, now with all of this problems being, out here and people, robbing people and, you just hear something every day. And like what Pam just pointed out, with her family, I mean, it's just, that's kind of a scary situation. So.
Always a trade-off.
Right.
Definitely on the other side of that trade-off.
Right.
Well, and I guess the question as a follow-up to that, how many, and you probably wouldn't know this answer, but how many people have signed up with the county government to allow them to access with permission their Ring video systems and whatnot? I know there's a lot of homes that have said, yeah, if there was ever an instance in my neighborhood and you've signed up, yeah, okay, hey, can we check out your Ring, to see who was driving by or whatever. So.
Yeah, there are some civil liberties that, that are, that you have to think about and make sure you're not, taking somebody's, civil liberties away. But anyway, we're just gonna see how it works and then, if it works and, then we'll move forward. But if not, we'll, take them down.
All right.
Anything else? Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All
Ron.
right, thank you. Just to wrap up here, you got to look real quick. You get 3 seconds and then it goes down. So we've already talked Memorial Day next Monday, Project Guild Luncheon, Oldham County Day is July 15th. Last day to register to vote in the general election is October 10th. I keep saying, folks, if you don't have any of these in your car, take 1 or 2. This is your voter registration cards. I have handed out 3 this week. One of the guys that I was not aware that he was not a registered Republican. He's one of my fellow transportation guys because we talk politics all the way. He says, yeah, I didn't vote in the last election. I said, what in the heck are you talking about? He says, I'm a registered independent. I said, here you go. You aren't anymore. So, but I've literally passed out 3 just since election day. And I have these in my car. So if you're having conversations, I mean, if you're an independent or any of the others and stuff, you don't vote. And most of these elections are decided in the primary, certainly in this county they were last year. So go ahead and take 1 or 2 of those, and I'll be happy to get more of those. About to get out the vote. The individual I met a couple of months ago at the 4th Congressional District dinner. I'm going to see if he can possibly even make it down here to talk to us about some ideas on how we can make sure we have very, very strong help us to beat Andy Bashir. And I'm trying to think if we can create again some kind of a t-shirt. I'm thinking something like "Oh Baby." And you say, what the heck is "Oh Baby"? Yeah, I know, you're giving me the look like, oh, here you go. The BADY stands for Beat Andy Bashir, y'all. That make a little more sense? Yeah, okay, little corny, but it's all about those. Next meeting. Oh, and the last thing is I have reached out to Cameron's team to see if we could put on an event in this county similar to what we did with Rand Paul and his kickoff that happened, a year ago, April. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we could work with the other counties, have a big event, maybe out at the Osborne barn, and get that kind of a crowd out for Daniel Cameron. So I've reached out to say, hey, we'd certainly be interested in putting something together. I'm sure some of our fellow, other county areas would be happy to do something like that. So stay tuned. That might be something we could do.
Wanted to add real quick, information that came out about Amy Bashir's approval number. He's at 60% approval rating, which is the highest in the country for a governor, including Republican governors. And if you think about the breakdown you had earlier about Republicans versus Democrat percentages, we got some independents we need to bring in. So I felt like that's when you think about talking to friends and neighbors and maybe people that are undecided, so because I mean, for a lot of people, Amy Bashir was not overtly political. For a lot of us, it was, but
yeah,
it just kind of depended on who you were and how you felt about it. So
Can I add something to that?
yeah,
This is one of my really friends that I've had since college. She's a diehard Democrat, and she called me right during the primary, right before the primary, and asked me who I was voting for in the primary. And she said that she was going to vote Republican in the fall because she's tired of Andy crying on TV. I mean, got one.
so yeah, I'm just saying,
There are people out there that are tired of hearing.
yeah, there's this conversation to be had for, if he's got an approval rating like that, and we don't have enough Republicans, it's not a guarantee that Republican counties are gonna go out and vote for.
We're gonna have to.
Cameron.
We absolutely are, because again, if they get strong turnout, coattails go down. We've got a lot of offices that are open, right? So we are not defending a lot of seats. So this is very important. I mean, people may recognize Allison Ball and not realize that she went from treasurer to auditor, okay, but you know, all these other positions, you go, wow, other than Michael Adams, these are new names that we've got to get out there. And some of these folks are formidable opponents. We know Representative Wheatley, Pamela Stevenson, another representative. You know, so even the Sierra Enloe, I saw her on TV and she has a decent background for the position. So, you know, we've got to do what we can to get our folks out. Okay. Other than a door prize drawing, I think we are good to go. I mean, the only other exciting news for me is that I just hold up to number 2. Only 2 more days of school.
Just one last thing.
Yes.
In the state of Kentucky, the governor actually has very limited power. It's the legislature that really controls things, and Lindsey being part of that. But the one thing that governors do, and this is just to tie in with something we talked about earlier, the biggest power the governor has is the ability to appoint people to these boards. And same thing with the president. Who the president matters in the federal level is more important than who it is who's the governor at the state level. But the biggest power they have is the ability to fill out that administrative state. Some people call that the deep state. That's really what that means. But all of these unelected bureaucrats that really make the laws through those regulations, that's the biggest power. And so this is a very important election. Even though the governor itself isn't that powerful, the ability to fill out all of those positions all over the state. I think there's something like 70 boards. I mean, it's unbelievable how many boards there are in this state. So it really is important. Even if you think Andy's a nice guy, so's Danny. All right, let's get a nice guy who's going to put Republicans in those spots.
Yeah. And I heard something that I don't know if everybody had heard this statistic. If Daniel Cameron was elected governor, he would be the first Black governor in the history of not just Kentucky, of the United States.
First Black Republican.
Black Republican, yes, sorry, yes, thank you. But I mean,
But
you just gotta go.
I think there's only been 5 total, and the first one was in 1990. So it's actually shocking how rare this is.
But, you know, I hate talking about race, but if we want to play the race card, I'll play that card. Okay, well, hopefully you grabbed a door prize. We always got to end with a little fun here. So, and I've got, you know, again, I've got the flag, I've got a first responder, or excuse me, the back to blue, which Pam gave a little shout out there. I also have a couple of nice little challenge or these coins. This one is President Donald Trump with Amy Coney Barrett. And this one is a Donald Trump for President 2024. Now, who wouldn't want that, right, Katie? He's hoping this is his number. And if you saw what I just did, I kind of poured everything out and I waited to see what was the last number in there, because that's going to be the lucky one tonight. So last 3 digits or last 3 numbers is 297. Could still be sitting on the table.
Should I go back and get?
Yeah. Okay, grab it. Here we go. I'll just grab another one. Here we go. 287. There you go. There you go. Come. Grab. You get choice of one of these things up here. So help yourself. And with that, I'm ready for a motion. Very good job. I think I heard Denise first. And who was second?
You don't have to second a motion to adjourn.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, we are adjourned. Thank you, Zoomers.